Nintendo has a massive library of games from all of their past consoles. They have so many fantastic titles that have aged quite well compared to their new games. So with the Wii, Nintendo wanted to make a truly backwards compatible system that is able to play all the other games, not physically, but digitally through the Nintendo Wii Shop channel and Virtual Console. So now that the Virtual Console is replaced with this, we should look back and remember the Virtual Console on the systems that had it. The Wii was the first Nintendo system to have online features, and one of the most useful features was the Wii Shop channel. In the shop, there was applications, WiiWare games, and also classic titles categorized in the Virtual Console section. The Wii Virtual Console had NES, SNES, and N64 games, but it also had other systems such as Sega's Master System, the Mega Drive/Genesis, the TurboGrafx-16/PC Engine, the Neo Geo AES, and MSX, which was only exclusive to Japan. There were also Commodore 64 games, but they were removed from the shop in 2013. Let me just say, this is an awesome amount of consoles, especially for a Nintendo system, as pretty much it feels like a crossover of different gaming companies and different games. Because the Wii is a very versatile system, there's a lot of playstyles and different controllers that you can play retro games the way you prefer. For example, you can use the Wiimote, and with that you can move it sideways, but that only works for games that use minimal buttons like NES or Master System games. Or you can attach a nunchuck, and now you have more control for Super Nintendo and N64 games. If you want a more traditional controller, then the Wii Classic controller is probably the best way to go. It does have pressured buttons though, but if you don't like them, then you can get the Wii Pro controller, which pretty much adds handles to the controllers, makes the buttons a little less crammed, and also removes the pressured triggers, which can feel nice with different games. But these controllers do not connect to the Wii directly, meaning you have to connect them to a Wii remote, which can be quite annoying. For the Wii consoles that have GameCube support, you can hook up a GameCube controller and they do work really well, but some games don't use them really good. For example, NES games, SNES games, games that use a D-pad do feel weird because it does not use the analog sticks. Also, you can use NES and SNES classic controllers with the Wiimote if you want a more authentic experience. Sadly, the Wii Shop channel and all of its games are discontinued. But let's take a look at the next step for the Virtual Console. The Nintendo 3DS introduced the eShop brand. The interface is quite simple to use, and for a handheld, that is a good thing. The Virtual Console came to the eShop, and the systems that were included were NES, TurboGrafx-16, which was available on Japanese 3DS systems only, and 3 new systems being Game Boy, Game Boy Color, and Game Gear, which fit really well on the 3DS. Game Boy Advance games were also technically part of the Virtual Console, but sadly only people who bought the original 3DS at launch were given the Ambassador Certificate due to the price cut that basically saved the system from ending up like the Wii U. The Ambassador Certificate allowed for people to download Game Boy Advance games and NES games. Sadly, Game Boy Advance games were never released for people who didn't have the certificate. What is also cool is that Nintendo did some special releases such as some Famicom titles and even Super Mario Bros. The Lost Levels. In 2016, Nintendo released the new Nintendo 3DS, and although I don't think it was the best name choice, it was exclusive to SNES Virtual Console games. They probably did this to make the new Nintendo 3DS seem more exclusive and have a new feature, but also another thing is that they wanted the game to have the same aspect ratio with a pixel-perfect display. To replace the link cable, Nintendo made it possible to play together or trade Pokemon using the local play feature. Sadly, the Game Boy printer is not usable. But overall, the Nintendo 3DS Virtual Console is a great way to bring those classic games on the go. The Wii U not only had the Wii Virtual Console built already into it, but it also had a Virtual Console of its own. You can transfer your Wii Virtual Console games to your Wii U Virtual Console, but there are fees to pay because of the new features that the games have. Along with NES, SNES, MSX, again Japanese only, TurboGrafx 16, and N64 games, the Wii U Virtual Console introduced Game Boy Advance games officially, and Nintendo DS games. Nintendo DS games work really well with the Wii U setup. And of course, you can play the games the way you want based on the title. So for example, if the game uses the 2 screens with a touchscreen, you can either just use the gamepad because it might be easier, or if the 2 screens work simultaneously and there's a picture like that makes up the both of them, then you can use the gamepad. So there's different ways that you can figure out how you want to play the game. Since the Wii U is an HD console, you could imagine how good games look. Now of course, most of these games don't need 4K, but they look really good on the Wii U. And because of the Wiimote having the sensor bar, shooting games with the NES Zapper work really well, especially for games like Duck Hunt. You can also customize your controls really nicely as well, which helps for lots of games, especially the N64 ones if you want to change where the D-pad is and the C buttons. You will see a Wii Virtual Console section, but it doesn't have any of the Virtual Console features, and the games still play in their same resolution, so it doesn't really count as part of the Virtual Console. But there is a fantastic library of Wii games here, especially some hidden gems, and also some classics. It is also disappointing that Game Boy and Game Boy Color games are not on the system. I don't really know what happened. Maybe they wanted to keep those games exclusive for the Nintendo 3DS. Or maybe they just didn't look good, who knows. But they would have been still really nice to have, and the Wii U would have had no problem running those games. GameCube games also didn't make it to the Virtual Console, which is a shame. I know the controllers aren't attachable to the system themselves. Maybe that was a problem because of the pressure triggers, but they still made a Wii U adapter later on for Super Smash Bros. For Wii U, so there's no really excuses, and they could have still altered the game to work with the Wii U gamepad. Most of the controllers from the Wii work with the Virtual Console, except for one specific thing, which is the GameCube controllers. They do not work with any software except for Super Smash Bros. For Wii U, like I said. So it is annoying for those N64 games that maybe you prefer with the GameCube controller. Now, it's not a big deal, but I know some people would have liked to have that controller maybe in some certain games. What is cool is that the Wii U console also included some Famicom titles like Super Mario Bros. 2 The Lost Levels, and they also included Earthbound Beginnings for the first time, which is incredible. Too bad they didn't do the same thing for Mother 3, but we are still waiting that, even if it takes centuries. What is also cool is that Nintendo included the e-reader unlockable levels from Super Mario Advance 4, Super Mario Bros. 3, which are basically new levels that are only accessible with the e-reader cards. Sure, the Wii U Virtual Console isn't perfect, and it doesn't have everything, but it's sure the best version of the Virtual Console, and possibly one of the best ways to play all these retro games on a modern HD system. Now, I know there's the SNES and NES classics as well, but this is a great way to play Wii games, DS games, GBA games, and more on one system. Well, what's next for the Virtual Console? It's hard to say. The Switch doesn't seem to be getting a Virtual Console anytime soon, which is quite a disappointment. But maybe HD ports of Wii games could be coming eventually, but we will have to wait and see. Well, anyway guys, that brings us to the end of the video. If you did enjoy it, make sure to leave a like and comment down below what you think. And don't forget to subscribe to see future videos on the channel, and I will see you guys in the next one.